Hello everyone, so this is part 2 of the connective tissue, of the tissue lecture, and in this lecture we're going to be talking briefly about epithelial tissue, okay? Epithelial tissue, as we already looked at the organization of tissues before, covers, okay, or lines, okay, cavities and organs, okay? Actually a big example of epithelial tissue as a bulk is actually your skin. Okay, so it can be composed of one or more layers of closely packed cells. When it's composed only of one layer, it's called simple. If it's two or more layers, it's actually called stratified. Has no extracellular matrix. Again, we already talked about what it is. It makes up glands, so your sweat glands, okay, your endocrine glands are actually, in this case, not endocrine glands. A lot of your regular sweat glands, ceruminous, sebaceous glands are actually made up of epithelia, and avascular. Avascular means to say that they have no blood supply. Okay, so this is actually how you name epithelial types. Again, simple, one layer, stratified, two or more layers. Squamous means flat, cuboidal obviously means cube, columnar means tall. All right. And then stratified, meaning many types. There is a type of tissue which is quite interesting because it can go from cuboidal all the way to squamous, and that's actually in the bladder. Okay, primarily in the bladder, because obviously, as you can know, your bladder can actually expand from like a fist-like, in this case, like a fist-like structure all the way up to, like in this case, like a couple of liters capacity. Okay, so that's actually where that comes in. I'm gonna go through a couple of images here. So here we go. The important way that you know that you're looking at epithelia, folks, is there's a lumen. Lumen, or a free space, must be present in order for a epithelium to be present. That space, obviously all of this top thing is space. Guess what this is? Space. Right? That means there's nothing in there except, like blood or secretions or, like food. Okay, so there's space. So the presence of a space tells you always that this is an epithelial tissue. Now, if you look at this type of epithelial tissue, you can see that each individual cell looks like a cube, and there's only one layer. So therefore, this is going to be called simple cuboidal epithelium. Okay, here you can see there are single layers, okay, of this long column-like cells opening. So this is called simple columnar epithelium. Okay. Here you actually have multiple types of epithelial tissue. Here you actually have simple cuboidal epithelium here. All right. And here, folks, this is actually epithelial tissue. They're flat. They're single layer. That is actually called simple, meaning one layer, squamous meaning flat, epithelium. Here you can see that they're flat, but there are multiple layers. This is called stratified squamous epithelium. And then there's this very weird structure. This is actually ciliated. Ciliated basically means to say that they actually have cilia, or just like fine, in this case, structures on the surface, extensions of the cell. And you have goblet cells. Okay, this is probably going to be in either through your respiratory passages, or even in some parts of your digestive system, digestive tract. This is called pseudo-stratified ciliated columnar epithelium. It's called pseudo because it looks like there's multiple layers. Actually, there's only one layer. Okay, and this is quite interesting. What happens, folks, this part, which is the goblet cell, actually creates mucus. And the purpose of the cilia, folks, is, if you think about it, where is most mucus come from? Most mucus comes in your respiratory passages, correct? What happens is, the reason why you have a cilia is it has two main functions. One, it traps foreign objects, in this case debris, it traps bacteria, but it also traps mucus. Okay, so because think about it, if I put, like in this case, like, I don't know, one of those clay things, slap it right up against the wall, it's gonna fall off, right? Well, if I put like bristles, brush, and it's gonna stick more to that surface. All right. So generally speaking, in this case, the the like epithelia, the purpose of epithelia again is secretion is a very, very important thing. It secretes mucus. Absorption, like in the case of your alveolus in your lungs, okay, it absorbs actual oxygen there. It also absorbs nutrients in your digestive tract. Secretions, obviously, again, I think I talked already about that. Plus, one of the very, very minor things is in this case is protection. And primarily speaking, when we're talking about protection, we're primarily talking about the skin in the upper passages of your respiratory tract. So you will be given a quiz, and what happens is some of these images is going to pop up. You need to be able to discern what type of tissue it is. All right, so whether it's connective tissue, epithelial tissue, right, nervous tissue, or muscle tissue. And in terms of epithelia, connective, and muscle, you need to know which type. So in the muscle tissue, you need to make sure that you understand how skeletal, how cardiac, and how smooth muscle looks like. And in connective tissue, you know there's dense, regular, dense, irregular, elastic, okay, and then cartilage as well, bone and blood. And then in epithelia, you need to understand whether it's simple or stratified, whether it's columnar, squamous, or cuboidal.